Today is talking about day 30, the magic number 7. So a while back ago, I read this old psychology paper written by a person named George Miller in 1956. He published his findings in Psychology Review, and his paper received quite a bit of attention. It's because it's the first time anybody had ever proffered that the human memory has not only limits, but has very specific limits. He proposed that the human brain can only really remember 7 digits, plus or minus a few chunks. He effectively organized the short-term memory into a variety of chunks that we are able to process information with. Now, whether or not he was absolutely accurate or not is beside the point. Through his research, he learned that by testing lots of people, that we can only really have the capacity to remember 7 digits, maybe 8, maybe 6. And we can also remember a couple of other pieces of information. For example, if I'm about ready to call somebody and I didn't have my phone, this was the old days when you had a rotary dial phone. You could remember the name of the person you're calling, the area code, that's 2 chunks, and then the 7-digit phone number, that's 3 chunks. So effectively, that was why people processed information the way they did. Now, this magic number 7 led me down a process, which is my own theory, by the way. You're not going to find this anywhere. This is the theory of Guy. But I've always noticed, and I started actually writing this down, that I would have these feelings of being overwhelmed. So as I'm starting a new transformation effort, starting some new thing I want to do, I would have these moments where suddenly I would feel overwhelmed. And I would have this overwhelming feeling. It's like, why do I feel that way? So I began to start to write that down the second I started feeling overwhelmed. And over a period of time, I started realizing there was a pattern. And that pattern is that something got added to my plate. And the second that something was added to my plate, that is what brought on the feelings of overwhelming. So, and I would write down all the things that I needed to do, and I could only really come up with 4. Now, if I really thought about it and went back into my long-term memory, I would come up with some other things. Or if I used an aid, like looking in my task system or in my email, I would find other things that I needed to do. But I could only really actively remember 3 of them. And that 4th thing that was added to my plate caused the feelings of stress and being overwhelmed. A lot of times when my kids growing up had homework to do, they were fine if they had 1 or 2 or maybe 3 things to do. But the second you added that 4th thing to their plate, they immediately threw up their hands and said, I've got too much going on. I'm overwhelmed. And so this is a very common thing. I mean, I've noticed this behavior quite a bit in my life. I create new programs, new initiatives, new habits I'm trying to learn. I can handle 3 new developing things at once, but I cannot do 4. The second I add 4, I crumble. And this is why it's very important to know this about your brain and how it operates. Whenever you start to feel overwhelmed and stressed, just recognize that what's really going on is you've probably just remembered or added 1 more thing to your plate. So as you start every day, as you work with other people, and as you try to be more productive in your life, you should remember that 3 things is about the capacity. There's a reason why the phone number system kept to 7 digits and they added the area code. There's a reason why Dora the Explorer, if you watch that cartoon, had forest, river, castle. It was always only 3 things. That would not stress a toddler out. But if you added 4 things to Dora's Explorer's map, it's over, right? So always remember this. 3 things is the secret to success. Now, I called this title the magic number 7. That's because I wanted to give tribute to George Miller's work, which inspired me to come up with this concept. But I tried to avoid my day, my month, my activities, whatever I've got going on. I try to limit myself to that magic, those 3 chunks in my mind that I can remember. All right. Thank you.